Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. He is Congressman Adam Smith, and I spoke with him this afternoon. The congressman offers several warnings for his party and tells me tonight he does not believe President Biden, if elected, would finish out a second term. Congressman Smith, thanks for being back with us here on the Hill on News Nation. Once again, we appreciate your time, sir, as always. Let me start with your statement and what you released the other day. You said the president can no longer clearly, articulately, and strongly make his case to the American people. But as we've all seen, Congressman, it seems as if the president is defiant right now and dug in. Do you think he's listening right now? Do you think he's being selfish? How would you describe where the president is right now?
Well, the two things that are most important here is, number one, I don't think this is over yet. A strong consensus has emerged in the last day or so that if President Biden's at the top of the ticket, we will lose badly in November. We've seen a couple more people come out and say so expressly. You had George Clooney's op-ed this morning, which I thought was incredibly strong. I can't say what's in the president's head. I can tell you that of the broad Democratic family, okay, I'm going everywhere from your grassroots knock-on-doors person up to an elected United States senator. About 90% of those people are absolutely convinced that we have a much stronger chance to win in November if we have a different candidate.
And you are of the belief, because Nancy Pelosi said today, Congressman, that she believes that President Biden can win. Your colleague in the Senate, Michael Bennet, has said that it'll be a landslide, he believes, with Donald Trump, for Donald Trump. Is that the category that you're in, that you think that this could potentially be really bad, and not only a Democratic loss for the presidency, but in the House and the Senate? Are you there?
Well, let me put this in more precise terms. I'm not going to make any bold prediction about he will win, he will lose. What I'm going to say, and what is absolutely obvious, is we have a much better chance to win, certainly at the presidential level, and I would submit all the way down the ballot with a different candidate. And I don't think
so. When does he need to drop out by?
Now, look, I forget what the math is, but, you know, in time for us to pick a different candidate during the convention. So a couple weeks.
Okay.
Look, the delegates are picked. I don't know, there's roughly 4,000 delegates, and they can vote for somebody else.
So if you do need another candidate, do you believe, Congressman, at this point in time, that Kamala Harris, the current vice president, is the next best option? Or do you think it's someone else?
Well, yeah, two important things about that. The honest answer to your question is yes. I think Kamala Harris is the strongest candidate that we have as an alternative. But again, that's up to the delegates. And if they ask me, I would recommend Kamala Harris. I think she's an incredibly strong and effective speaker, former prosecutor. I think she served as vice president and served the president very well. But look, we got an incredible depth of talent in this party. And one of the things we need to do is bury the myth that Joe Biden is the only person that can beat Donald Trump. There is a strong aversion to Donald Trump in this country. Now, Joe Biden was a strong candidate in 2020, but there were a couple, well, at least a dozen other people who I think could have been strong candidates in 2020 as well. So we can beat Donald Trump with a different candidate. We've got a bunch of options, a bunch of governors, a bunch of senators, So I think we should pick one of those, and that'll put us in a better position.
Congressman, one of the things that I respect about you, and I say this all the time to our audience here on News Nation and to those listening to us on Sirius XM about you, is you are a serious lawmaker. You are taken seriously in this town. There's the non-serious, there's the few that are serious, and you're among them as the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. So in that position as the ranking member, the top Democrat on the Armed Services Committee, Congressman, do you believe right now that President Biden, who is the current commander-in-chief, is fit to serve?
That's quite the buildup, by the way. Yes, I do. There's a different thing between serving as president and having to run what would be, for anybody, against Donald Trump in this moment, one of the hardest campaigns that you could possibly imagine. It's never easy running for president. This is going to be a
isn't being the commander? Yeah, but isn't being the commander-in-chief the ultimate, right? So here's sort of the disconnect, and what I'd like to get at is
two different things. I heard your question. If I could, you had a long build up to your question there. Give me at least a second to answer it. You're talking about two different things. The president's making decisions. He's doing the job. He's got a great team around him as president. As candidate, he's got to get out there all across the country, take questions, stand up, be able to articulate a complicated message, respond to questions. Totally different thing than being able to be a capable commander-in-chief. We've seen at the NATO summit. I don't have a particular criticism of the job that Joe Biden is doing at the NATO summit. Gave a good speech yesterday, I think it was. He's still making decisions about how to, deal with the situation in Ukraine, situation in the Middle East. Those decisions have been sensible, and they've moved us forward, I think, in the right direction. Being able to effectively deliver a message in a brutal, tough campaign, particularly when there are questions about your health swirling around it, that's a different thing. But no, I don't have any problem with him staying as president, doing the job he's doing.
So you mentioned the questions about his health, right? And that's the obvious. If he does win, let's now operate in the world, and I'll leave you with this, Congressman, that if he does win, he's then going to be the commander-in-chief for the next 4.5 years when he's 85 and 86 years old. As the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, you trust him as the commander-in-chief at that point in time?
Here's what I feel about that. I think right now, as I said, he's more than capable of doing the job. If you ask my honest opinion, given his health, do I think he can serve out the full 4 years? No, I really don't. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not measuring that. But we have a process in place for dealing with that. If
How many years
to
do
the
you think he
point
would
while
serve?
he is president in the next, I don't know. That's, like I said, I'm not a doctor. But my point is, if it comes up that he is no longer capable of doing that job, there's a process in place. There is no process in place for making him be able to be a strong candidate between now and November, okay? That's just baked in. So look, if a year from now, 18 months from now, you ask me that question, and I can't honestly say yes, at that time, I would recommend that he step aside. Right now, I think he can do the job as president. I just don't think he can do the job of delivering our message as a candidate.
All right, we got to leave it there. Congressman Adam Smith, appreciate your time as always, sir.